How's it going? How's it going out there? Yeah, there's a lot going on with this one. Wow. I don't know. I have one tie-dyed shirt in my life. I mean, I don't even know why I have it, but I have it. And today's the day. Can you hear me all right? SJ, oh God, SJ Pepper's here. The day I have my, look, I need a shower. Let's just call it what it is. And I'm not saying anything shady toward people who wear tie-dye, but I mean, it kind of fits that I kind of need to go take a shower, and I'm wearing tie-dye. And I'm playing hacky sack. No, I'm kidding. Molly's here. Surgery went well, plate and 2 screws, and they had to do something with the ligaments. Molly, if you didn't know, Molly's mom fell, and she has been going through the thing, and Molly's been going through the thing, the hospital thing. And yeah, we've been thinking about you, Molly. I'm glad that you're on the other side of that part. I'm really glad you're here too. That's cool. Hopefully I can distract you a little bit now that you're, things are stabilized, right? Maybe the nerds and the amazing content that I have for you all tonight will help you kind of get some you time. I don't know. If that's what you're feeling like you need, then I hope we can give that to you. We love you too. We love you too. You know what, Molly? You know what? That's for you. That's right. You've been in a hospital for several days, not much sleep, taking care of a little child and a husband and a mom. Still look hot. Just the way it is. And anyway, so Stephanie Cake, and Myra, and Robin's Nest, and Jan. And you know what? As I was, Joyous Fibers, thank you so much for subscribing. You resubscribed with Amazon Prime. You've been subscribed for 8 months. Again, the ducky has to be just right. I should have done this. Miss Fashionista Cake is here. I'm so glad. Stella was jamming to the music. It's good. It's a really good playlist, I think. And if you're a subscriber to the show, and you can subscribe for free through Amazon Prime. Did you know that? You can. You get a free Twitch subscription every month, and you can use it on Quilt Nerd. And if you subscribe, you get access to the Discord. We call it the Disco. And just today, like an hour before the show, I posted a link to the Spotify playlist, which has all of the songs from the Quilt Nerd show. Call it the Quilt Nerd soundtrack. So, felt like Sweets is here, and M. Hicks, and Sandy Tries, and Ivy Kadivy. Everyone's very good. Oh, SJ is subscribing with Prime on an iPad. You're all very good. Oh, a hype train is close. If you use bits, or you cheer, or you subscribe, a hype train happens. And it makes me feel good. I think that's the main thing that it does. I don't think it affects other things, but it affects my confidence. And you want me to have confidence, because you should see this stack of books over here. I'm gonna need confidence. Word and Bird Nerd is here. And you know what? Linda ARP is here, and Stitch and Deb. And I saw Woolen Pearls. Woolen Pearls, welcome to the show. That's a champagne cork just for you. And why not? That's the newest sound, the soundboard. Actually, the newest sound on the soundboard, but actually that's not true. The newest sound. Hang on, I gotta take out the jazz. Just for this moment. The newest sound cue is this one, for when we're feeling the type of way, we're feeling a little salty about something we read or see. I gotta do that part. I'm just saying. It took a long time. We did a lot of focus group testing. And Jan Make Stuff, it's so good to see you. And also Woolen Pearls, I'm sure you got hey Myra. Yay! Okay. So thank you. So Woolen Pearls, if you got some welcome basket emotes in the chat, it's because people are welcoming you here. And if you're lurking and you don't want to say hello in the chat, that's totally cool. I'm really glad you're here too. And yeah, I can't see who comes in here. So I've said before, if ex-boyfriends, ex-lovers come in on the night when I'm wearing tie-dye and need a shower, it's fabulous. But I can't see you, I don't know you're there. Many of you probably are on Twitch. Let's move on. So Padma's here. It's so good to see you, Padma. Everybody. MC John. And you know what? If I haven't said hi, Quilting Politic, if I haven't said hello to you, it's okay. It's okay. It's not because I don't care about you. I care about you. I just, I'm scrolling. My great cats. Bip. Saucy Stitcher. Just be active. Be active in the chat. And Viavana. And I will, Kenny. So also, if ex-boyfriends are watching, it's maybe okay because I have a rather husky quality to my voice because you know what? On Saturday night, hey, the other Mary Kate. Looking good, Mary Kate. I hope no one feels objectified. If you do, it's in the best way. On Saturday night, I was like, oh, my throat hurts. I think I have to end after 2 hours, instead of going longer, which I would have done. Y'all, I got sick. I was sick. I am sick. I lost my voice, and I was supposed to have a call with the amazing quilt nerd intern, Susanna. Today, but we didn't do it. I was like, I should not talk. I should save my voice. So I haven't talked to anybody all day, which is why I'm probably talking like I am now, which is blah, blah, blah. I have cough drops. I have tea. I'm so sorry if I sound weird. I do, but it's better than what it was. Okay, so welcome to the show. I'm really glad you're here. And you know what? Mary Kate just said I could objectify her whenever I wanted, so I'm going to. You have been warned. I'm gonna jump right into the intro quilt tonight, and then do some announcements and some fun things, share some fun things. But every single show of the Quilt Nerd show, every Quilt Nerd episode, this is episode 142, by the way. We do a lot of shows every week, and we used to do 3 shows a week, so we got to like a really high number really quickly. But it's my favorite thing to do in the world. And anyway, so on every Quilt Nerd show, we start out with an intro quilt, and it's the quilt that's behind me, and it changes every show, of course. And I pick one, that I really feel. I gotta feel it. It's like I get out one of those divining rods, and go to my bookshelf or go to the internet, and I gotta find just the right one. And so that's how we begin the show. And the show, if you've never seen it, is SJ. We'll see you later. We love it when you come by. We love it. Because you know what? I have a crush on you. Be gone. Be gone. The show is about quilts. It's not about quilts the way a lot of people have seen shows about quilts. Yvonne, I love you. And I love your husband for thinking. Sorry, I have to pause and just say, hey, Faith. Ivana said my hubby Cooper just said we're quilt dorks. And I corrected him, says Ivana, and told him, no, we are quilt nerds. Thanks. Cooper, you know what? This is for you. No, this is for you. Anyway, so Quilt Nerd isn't a show like perhaps you've seen before. A lot of people who love quilts watch how-to shows. I did a how-to show on PBS, for Lord's sake, for a lot of years with my mom, and then on my own. And those are great shows. And I make quilts, and a lot of people in the chat make quilts, but not everybody does. Hey, Niflinster. This show is different. It's not going to teach you how to make quilts. It's going to teach you why you should love them. Whoa, I just came up with that. I just came up with that. It's not bad. Quilt Nerd doesn't teach you how to make quilts. It tells you why you should love them. A little bit of tweaking, that could be pretty good. Anyway, we look at quilt history, and we look at quilts in culture. We look at the story of quilts kind of up to this point, and that's been something that's been sort of coming to the surface lately, is that, I pick quilts from the way far past, from the recent past, and from the very recent past. But I don't talk a lot about quilts being made today, because we know about quilts being made today. And if you're a quilt person, you know what I mean. There's Instagram, there's Facebook, there's so much out there right now to talk about quilts of today. And thank goodness, right? There's more than ever before. But there's so much that happened before now. And to look at that, to connect the dots, Tara Miller paid me a compliment. Tara Miller said, I think she said you're connecting the dots, or you're sort of bridging the gap between like sort of, the time before and the time now. And she was like, that's really awesome. And I was like, because I have a crush on her too. And, but that's great. I think there's room for that. And I'm not the only person who should be doing that, who could be doing that. So if you also want to start a stream on Twitch, that's totally, no, you totally should. Don't call it like Quilt Dork. But there's so much history, and it's so amazing, it's so interesting. And so on this show we dive into that and we look at it together, and we look at it live. And podcasts are amazing, we love our podcasts, but a live stream show gives you the opportunity to look at stuff. And I try to do my best to bring you things every week that are just several times a week that are just engaging and fascinating. I don't know. I've always been kind of an editor person. I like to cherry pick things and be like, look at this. So hopefully that is what you'll find, is fascinating things every single show. Right now, Tuesday nights, 7 p.m., Saturday nights, 8 p.m., and every other Friday, including this Friday, we do Quilters Newsletter Friday, where we read an old dusty copy of Quilters Newsletter. I'll tell you about it later. For now, I told you we were going to talk about the quilt behind me, and so we shall. Cooper said, I'm so passionate, it's infectious. Thanks, Coop. Can I call you Coop? I use nicknames for people, and sometimes I'm not sure if I should. I don't know. Like, I called Stephanie Cake Steph. Steph, can I call you Steph? I don't know. Sometimes I think maybe it's unprofessional or something. Okay. So the quilt behind me. So it was so hot today. It was so hot today. I gotta get small. Hang on. Help, I'm small. So, hey, Kitty Hannah. So, so it's so hot today in Chicago. I mean, and let me tell you. Okay, so the jazz just cut out because we have to focus. Focus. It's so hot today in Chicago. And yesterday, for my Chicago peeps. Nice, Stephanie Cake. That's very good. So yesterday, there was a tornado warning. Eric and I, we battened down the hatches. I shouldn't make light of it because many people had damage to their homes, and it was a very, very tense situation for a lot of people. I didn't check the news. I hope no one was seriously injured or lost their lives, for heaven's sakes. But it was really, really intense. The sky was a color of green that I haven't seen since I was a kid. We used to do tornado drills in Iowa, and a terrible tornado hit Madison County. Some of you would have heard about that. But I hadn't had a tornado scare that intense in a while. So anyway, the humidity today, the sign, the workbox sign on this co-working space out in the lobby was curled in on itself when I walked in this morning at 6:30 in the morning. Seriously. It was caused issues at Wrigley. I'm not surprised. At Yvonne's beautifully hot, obviously. Beautifully hot. In Milwaukee as well. Yeah, it's really something. So I was thinking so I walked outside briefly to get crisps, truly, at the Jewel Osco across the street before the show. And it was so hot, and it was the first time I'd been outside since early this morning. And I was like, I was reminded of one of the hottest moments of my life. And I'm not talking about when I was single. Hello. I was in New York City, and I was standing on the subway platform, and it was August. The hottest I've ever been was in New Orleans on a Quilt Folk gig in August. The guy who put my bag into the car to go to the airport, he was like, "Why are you here?" I was like, "I don't know." He's like, "I live here. I shouldn't be here." I was like, "I know." So how hot was it? Hey, El Riggs. It was so hot. I put a quilt on it. So I was standing in the subway. Can I name drop just for a second? I was in New Orleans 3 times for Quilt Folk that year, but Tula Pink was there the first time I was there, and we did a photo shoot together. And we were both like, oh, no, I was like, "I'm so sorry." And she was like, "It's fine." I was like, "We're going to take really beautiful pictures of you and your quilt." She was like, "I know." We like each other. I need to call her. "Tula, you should be watching my show. But don't get in the chat, because if you get in the chat, no one will pay attention to me." Anyway, So New York City in August, when you're standing on a subway platform, it's really a lot because the train comes by and it blows heat in your face and it's intense. Well, the other day I saw this quilt. Hang on, what's going on? Hang on, I want to do a little adjusting. Okay, there. So I saw this quilt the other day in a book, and I wanted to share it with you. Because it's so cool. Isn't that cool? It's called 42nd Street. And I'm 42, by the way. That's not why I chose it, but I am 42. I didn't really think about it until I put it up on the screen. But yes, I'm 42. I'll be 43 on August 6th. But I'm 42 for a few more months. But 42nd Street, it's the subway. It's the subway platform or the subway station, you know? And this is by Yvonne Foreman. I think it's brilliant. I just love it. And you know what? It's 84 by 76 inches. And this Fashionista Cake, you can stay. It's by Yvonne Foreman. She made it in 1986. She's from Hastings-on-Hudson, New York. It's hand and machine pieced. Interesting. Hand quilted by Grace Miller. Bob Shaw writes, Yvonne Foreman series, Quilts from the NY Subways. Wait a minute, it's a series? That's amazing. That's so great. Someone needs to find Yvonne Foreman, not Yvonne Porcella. Don't get it twisted. She's probably like, I'm Yvonne Foreman, not Yvonne Porcella. But Yvonne Foreman, spelled like Ivana, only with an E. Yvonne Foreman, Foreman. And this is from the series Quilts from the NY New York Subways. Yvonne Foreman series, I would like to see them all. Yvonne Foreman series, Quilts from the New York Subways, seeks to translate the subway system's beautiful terracotta mosaic tiles and bas reliefs from hard to soft materials. From hard to soft materials, that's so cool. I love that. Of course, it makes perfect sense. From hard to soft materials. Hey, Mother Nature. Hey, Charles. It is a series. So cool. Sexy ladies from the 80s. Oh, I love that. I almost dropped the book. And yeah, tiles from hard to soft materials, so brilliant, thereby bringing their beauty to a wider audience. Yvonne Foreman says, quote, the challenge has been to convert, I love these letters, look how it's all pieced, you guys, it's not applique. She says, quote, the challenge has been to convert these beloved landmarks from ceramic to fiber without compromising the integrity of either the mosaics or the traditional quilt. Oh, we love you. That's so great. That's so great. She's like, I want to honor the ceramic. I want to honor the subway, and as we should, and I want to honor the quilt. I love it. I love it. It's so cool. 1986. Again, you can kind of tell that polyfill batting. It gives it away. 1986 for sure. 1986 for sure. The piecing is phenomenal. I completely agree. Quilt Church for sure. This Quilt Church for sure. Okay, yeah. Oh, you can see my tab over there. That's fine. I love a tab. So that's our intro quilt. And I think it's, I when I saw it, I could not wait to share it because I thought it was really, really neat. And I hope you agree. I think you do. Okay. There's so much to do. Okay. So it's Father's Day on Sunday. And I thought because, let's see, Friday night, we have Quilters Newsletter Friday, which is great. And I haven't picked the year yet. I don't know. It'll be a good one, I promise. And it'll be, I think we were in the early 80s last time, so I'll do something good. Maybe early 90s or something. But most of the time, I think it's been kind of sort of decided kind of on its own. It kind of evolved to be true that we don't do Quilters Newsletter from like 2016. You know, it needs to be further back, kind of the same ideas as doing content on the show that is it's older than. It's not contemporary. Let's put it that way. So, so Quilters Newsletter Friday. I'll scan in an issue. It'll be a really good one, and we'll hang out. We'll talk about it. And I've got some other ideas for Quilters Newsletter Friday. Some little things to throw in, you know. Because now that I'm not doing 3 shows a week or 4 shows a week, I feel like Quilters Newsletter Friday, I can add some fringe, you know, some spangles. And then Saturday night is movie night. And that brings me to this. Saturday night is movie night, and that means that we're going to watch movies. We really like to watch movies on this show. I'm going to hide the chat for a second and hide me. Yeah. Okay. So we like to watch videos and films. You're welcome, Myra. We like to watch films, if you will. And so I'm making it kind of official. We are going to check out some movies on these specific days. So you can know, like, hey, this Saturday night it's going to be movies. It's going to be a movie I want to watch with the rest of the quilt nerds. So I'll be sure to make it. And it kicks off the Martha Stewart festival, the summer Martha Stewart Quilt Festival. I've got all the episodes of Martha Stewart that had quilt content, and it's not like the whole episode had quilts on it. Believe me, it's just like an 8-minute segment, like in 6 different shows. So we're gonna watch all the segments together. We're gonna make fun of Martha Stewart. It's gonna be great. Bring your popcorn, have some wine or an adult beverage. We should have a quilt nerd cocktail. I just thought of that. Probably someone has suggested it already, but it would be a good thing. So that's this Saturday night. So we're going to do some Father's Day content tonight because it's our only chance. Father's Day is on Sunday. And just so you know, the Quilt Nerd 1-year anniversary show is on August 5th, one day before my birthday. And, it's a Saturday night show. It's always going to be good, I hope. But that night will be extra fun, and there'll be giveaways and things. I don't know. Lots of fun things. Okay. And then the last thing is a week from Saturday. No, never mind. Ignore me. 2 weeks from tonight is the Quilt Nerd on Parade show. I have to keep drinking water, you guys, or I'm going to have a problem. Quilt Nerds on Parade. Send me your projects. Show me what you're making. You can pick one thing that you're making and tell me about it, and then you'll tell everybody about it, because I will share your work on the show. Quilt Nerds on Parade, it happens once every quarter, and it's really easy to give me your stuff, and you don't have to be a subscriber to do this. I want to share the stuff that people are working on. It's got to be quilt related, obviously, and it has to be, not gross. I mean, I don't know, it's possible we could get a troll. It's possible, hasn't really happened, but with an open link like that, who knows? After the show is over, I'll make that link go away. So if you're watching this in 2026, you can't troll me. Sorry. You also can't be on the show if it's 2026. But if the show's still going, which it will be, we'll be doing this, and you can just tune in and get your quilt up there. Okay, so the deadline is the 26th of June. Don't forget. Okay? Okay, that's all. Now, let's begin. Let me get the chat back up there. Let me get, I have to say, the tie-dye, I don't know about the tie-dye, but it looks really cool against the black, I'm often wearing darker clothes. Tie-dye's good. Okay, so as I mentioned, I wanted to do some Father's Day. The angle of the show tonight, at least the first half, is Father's Day, and so I went and found some really interesting, intriguing, remarkable, in the sort of classic sense of the word or the literal sense of the word. They're worth being remarked upon, right? They are able to be remarked upon because they have something special about them, something that catches one's eye. Now, we have amazing male quilters in the quilt nerd community. We have Charles, we have Mark, we have Kenny. Castle Cripps is a fellow. I don't know if Castle Cripps is a maker of quilts, but we love you guys. We love all you guys. All the rainbow of gender. We don't care. I mean, I don't know. We don't care. We care about everyone. So we don't care who you are. We just we hang out and we talk about quilts. So it doesn't matter what you do. So I wanted to show some male some quilts made by males, because if you're a father, thank you. If you're a good father, thank you. If you're a father who tries his best, let's put it that way, I appreciate you. I've got a great stepdad, other dad, real dad. It's complicated, but my stepdad is awesome. So happy Father's Day, Mark. Charles, you're amazing. So here we're going to start with this quilt, which is a very famous quilt, and I may have shown it, I'm sure I've shown it just very briefly on the show before, because Jonathan Shannon is a person who comes up from time to time, because the late Jonathan Shannon was an accomplished quilter in his time. Oh, this is also, I wanted to start with this quilt too, because Jonathan Shannon was a gay man, and it's Pride Month, you know, so we gotta, it's like doing double duty here, in the best way. John, and oh yeah, not all of these people that I'm highlighting, not all of these men are fathers necessarily. I don't know if Jonathan Shannon had children or not, but it's just like, you know, the maleness, that's the mood. So anyway, Jonathan Shannon, this quilt is called Amigos Muertos. Ivana, thank you. Ivana, I mean, just everything. Ivana's comment, all of it. Thank you. Perfectly put. So Amigos Muertos is a remarkable quilt. I feel like we have looked at it before, but I mean months and months ago. Amigos Muertos is included in the 20th Century's Best American Quilts, which was published by Quilters Newsletter. And it's a very interesting publication because it's a magazine. It's a magazine binding, you know. It's perfect bound, but it's like a magazine. It's almost Quilt Folk is like almost a book. This magazine is almost a catalog. And it's from what, you know, it's the people, Bonnie Lehman and Carrie Bresenhan, Shelley Ziegert. Anyway, they picked the 100 best quilts. Would I pick the same 100 quilts? No. Did they pick a lot of good ones? Yes. And Amigos Muertos was one of them. And here's what they write about Jonathan Shannon's Amigos Muertos. I'm going to get in really close. He was made in 1994. I know that. Hey, Pastrami Tacos. Pastrami Tacos says this is the best quilt I've ever seen. Oh, just wait. 1994, 89 by 89, okay? Amigos Muertos is a visual feast that silently bears a strong message that many didn't wish to hear. And in doing so, it lit a fire in the quilt world, opening a Pandora's box of dialogues concerning censorship. The importance of this quilt is best said in Jonathan Shannon's own voice. Quote, Amigos Muertos is a memorial to all those artists who have died from AIDS and cancer, and especially to my friend, Lynn Piercy, who died as the quilt was being completed. In quilt making, there is an honored tradition of using this medium to express personal feelings of both joy and sorrow. Making this quilt was my way to feel close to those who have died too young, leaving their life's work unfinished. For 16 months, I used my finest stitches in their honor. It is a loving, even joyful work. These skeletons play music and dance in a field of flowers and vines, surrounded by a border of intricate cutwork applique. While we who are left behind may be saddened by death, who is to say the dead are sad? Unquote. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Whew. I mean, I don't think you can see it, but I have like for real goosebumps. That was. So yes, a nun maker makes the point, aptly, that the panels around the edge. Someone may be able to tell us. Pastrami Tacos maybe be able to tell us the border is. I mean, I can picture the bunting, right? The festive garlands and banners, like in a quinceanera festival or something. Like, do those have a name? The cut paper, you know? Anyway, that's clearly what Jonathan Shannon was going for, right? Ah, thank you, Stephanie Cake. Oh, and Pastrami Tacos right there, both of you. You get the nerd award. It's a tie. Papel Picado. Thank you. Good to know. Papel Picado. Papel Picado. What is picado? Papel is obviously like paper, right? I mean, yo hablo un poco español, like un poco. I did Duolingo for like a year and a half. But picado. Oh, cut. Maybe cut. Okay. Anyway, so Jonathan Shannon, this quilt, so part of Elrig's, I agree. This quilt, part of the thing that makes this, one of the best quilts of the century according to that particular group, aside from it just being exquisite, it was hung at Quilt Festival, I believe, at the International Quilt Festival in Houston, or it was to be hung. We should do a whole segment on like that whole thing, but it was one of the greatest scandals of the quilt world, of quilt world history. It was not allowed to be shown. Like, people were not okay with it being this like dark, like it's not dark, it's not dark, but it was taken down. Like, that's from what I remember of this story. It was not shown because people were offended. People were offended by the subject matter, or hang on, Jonathan Shannon. You know what? There's so many quilts. I shouldn't even like dip in here, but it's in the San Jose Museum of Quilts and Textiles. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have to look at it later. I mean, I can't pause too long, but it's a fascinating story. It is a crime, Saucy Stitcher, and it was just total shit. Yeah, and it's beautiful. So, our first male-made quilt is Jonathan Shannon's Amigos Muertos. Indeed. Now, okay, this is crazy. We often have a Twilight Zone moment on the show. And indeed, today we do. Oh, wait, no, it's not that. Hang on. Everybody hang on. Okay, look, I made a photocopy. This is so cool. So I had a Twilight Zone moment, or a freaky quilt nerd moment, because I was looking for the quilts for tonight, the men quilts, and I have Robert Shaw's book on Hawaiian quilts, and it's pretty extraordinary. I'm going to talk more about it later because I'm going to talk about a book giveaway I'm going to start doing. But I was flipping through it and I saw this. The book fell open to this. Forgive me, I do have to keep drinking water because of my throat, or it's going to be a crack up. Okay. There are words that I just feel embarrassed to try to pronounce. So I want to try, though. Na kiapai nani lueole o edina a me alenale. I mean, I said it kind of like Italian, but that is Hawaiian. And it translates into English, the beautiful, unequaled gardens of Eden and Elenale. Artist once known. Oh yeah, Myra, thank you. I could use some help. But artist once known. The book says artist unknown, but you know how we like to do it. Artist once known, late 19th, early 20th century. And listen to what Robert Shaw has to say about this quilt. Quote, although several men are active in Hawaiian quilt making today, this unique quilt is one of the few historic examples believed to have been made by a man. The original owner told officials at the Honolulu Academy of Arts that it had been made by, quote, a great-great-granduncle of my husband, and then handed down to him by an uncle, unquote. A most uncommon lineage for any quilt. Yeah. Ooh. Oh my God. Hold on. Padma, hang on. Padma just redeemed a content director. Thimbles. Okay. Padma, we are coming back. After I am done with this quilt, we are going to highlight what is happening. Because that is going to happen. Because Padma I need some sort of sound effect when people redeem these things. We're working on it. Actually, Stephanie Cake and I are going to be talking about that. But anyway, Padma, thank you so much. You get to be content director. You used 15,000 of your thimbles and you get to pick a topic for a show in the next week. It is done. It is done. We'll come back to that, okay? Thank you so much. How exciting. People are doing the thing that I thought we should do. Okay, back to Shaw. The quilt's 2 pictorial sections juxtapose a scene out of Hawaiian legend with a central image of the Christian religion brought to Hawaii by American missionaries in the 19th century. The right side of the quilt depicts Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Okay, I better zoom out a little bit. While the left side presents Elinale and Leonala, the mythical hero and heroine of a popular 19th century Hawaiian romance. Oh my God, I love it. Oh, it's so great. The story of Elinale and Leonala was the first literary work ever published in Hawaiian, which was strictly oral language until it was codified by the missionaries. Oh my God. In it, the supernatural Elinale grew up in an eponymous magic garden. Oh my God, I'm dead. Which Hawaiians considered second only to Eden in its pristine beauty. I am freaking out. We've got serious feels on the show tonight. I am like, oh, it's so beautiful. Elinale fell in love with the earthly princess Leonala and rescued her from a queen who held her captive. Oh, no. And rescued her from a witch who held her captive. The quilt maker apparently modeled his image of Leonala after a photograph of the fashionable Queen Emma and dressed the couple in royal garb. Hawaii has long been considered a paradise on earth by Westerners, often inviting comparison with the biblical garden paradise of man's innocence. In Roughing It, Mark Twain, not known for his sentiment, love Mark Twain, wrote tenderly, quote, "I have visited a great many years ago the Hawaiian Islands, that peaceful land, that beautiful land, that far off home of profound repose and soft indolence and dreamy solitude, where life is one long slumberless Sabbath, the climate one long delicious summer day, and the good that die experience no change, for they but fall asleep in one heaven and wake up in another." Unquote. Unquote. I mean, it is amazing. It's interesting. Like, yeah, it is a complicated thing because, first of all, I mean, this, like, Mike Twain, isn't that funny? Just take down the hero's legacy just by calling him the wrong name. I love Mike Twain. But this sort of idealism of like, oh, there's such a simple, lovely way of life there is like, was it that simple, Mike? But yes, and the quilt is beautiful. And yeah, I mean, we can't get colonialism, like, put it to the side. Let's discuss it over the coming years. It's like, yeah, the missionaries wrote down the story, but like, why were they there? We're not going to go there right now. So this is beautiful, and it was made by, in observance of Father's Day, we were celebrating male quilters, a great granduncle of the person's husband who gave the quilt to the Honolulu Academy of Arts. Amazing. Hey, it's Omouse. You know what? Omouse, if you snuck a feel of Mark Twain's desk at his house in Connecticut, you know what you get? Wait, I don't think you can hear that. You get this. Yeah, you get a champagne cork. I mean, I like that. I like the cut of your jib. I probably would have done the same thing. So yeah, it's an amazing quilt for sure. Myra says, I think you missed the Hawaiian as my request for content on Saturday. I did, but I emailed you about it, right? But I did miss that. You wanted Hawaiian for, okay. So that is the answer to my question. Myra is redeeming a content director purchase from a long time ago, and you want Hawaiian, girl. You ain't seen Hawaiian. You ain't seen nothing yet. You just get ready. Just get ready. Okay, so that is our second quilt. You're gonna love it. Hey, Little Bird Stitch. Oh my God, it's so good to see you. Have to drink water. I am liking the husky quality to my voice, I must say. All right, this next male quilt, man-made quilt, comes from Quilt Folk magazine. That's right. I learned recently that Quilt Folk issue 16, the cover of which you're looking at right now, is our best-selling issue ever. I did not know that until I got an email about it, like the promotional email. I was editor of Quilt Folk magazine for many years and a writer for years, and now I produce media for Quilt Folk, and Quilt Folk is very dear to me. And issue 16, briefly, was the first issue that we did when the pandemic descended and no one could travel or leave their house. Quilt Folk is a travel magazine as much as it is about quilts. Yes, Mother Nature, exactly, the COVID issue. And Mike, and his name is Mike and I got on the phone and we were like, what are we going to do? Because Quilt Folk's model is we go state to state. Every issue focuses on quilts and quilt makers in a different state. I think they're working on issue 23 or 4 right now. And we were about to do issue 16, which was going to be Connecticut or something. And we couldn't do it. And I was like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do, Mike? And instead of focusing on a state, I was like, why don't we focus on a theme like friendship, family, charity? You know, like something we could keep doing if this never ended, you know. So for the first time, we asked for reader submissions. And what was really amazing about doing that, it's a great issue, Charles, I agree. Thanks, Bridgewater and VA. I agree, it's a great issue. So we asked for reader submissions, and the wonderful thing about it, there are many wonderful things about it, but one of the wonderful things was that we got to see who our readers were. And we know the readership, you know, it's a big readership, but the people who submit, we got like 260 submissions, you know. It was very difficult to make the issue in that way. But, you know, we got the coolest stories. I mean, we just, our readership is vast. It is a colorful audience and readership. It is a intelligent readership. And it was just really great to see who wanted to tell their story. You know what I'm saying? So it's the best-selling issue ever. How about that? And it was also the hardest issue I've ever worked on. So anyway, this quilt is from that issue. And this fellow on, hang on. This fellow on the right, I need to make it smaller so you can see him. Since he's so far on the right, I'm going to hide the chapters for a second because I want you to see him, and I don't want to make him super small. This fellow, he's the nearest to me. This fellow who's nearest to me. Okay, he is the maker of this quilt, Marcia McDowell, the great Marcia McDowell of the University of Michigan and the Quilt Index, wrote this article about this story, and I'll give you the sort of the condensed version of what this is about. So Charlie and Julia. You're seeing Charlie and Julia Grinnell, the older folks in the picture. It's Charlie and Julia Grinnell. And Charlie met Julia when she was making he said, quote, "When I met my wife, she was doing some quilting and she had pieces cut out. She went to work and was teasing me. Why don't you finish that for me? When she came home from work, I had it finished. Then I just kept it up." So that's Charlie. So, and Charlie was doing bead work. Okay, sorry. My photocopy cut off, so I'm going to do something really quick because I actually just want to read it to you because it's really great. It's not very long either. Let me just grab it. It's right here, and it's better than me kind of condensing because I don't want to mess anything up because of a bad photocopy. Okay, I'm very good at doing things on the fly at this point. If only I could just push a button. All right. Okay, here we are. So this is called A Nephew's Restoration. And I'll go back to the 2 quilts in just a second. This is just worth listening to, frankly. Marcia McDowell writes, in Partial, North Dakota, a small city within the jurisdictional boundaries of the Mandan, Hidasta, and Arikara Nation, the late Charlie and Julia Grinnell made many quilts together on the Fort Berthold Indian Reservation. Their quilt patterns were inspired by their Hidasta beadwork. Many native artists incorporate familiar design motifs into their work to communicate their cultural heritage, to create the striking graphic, geometric designs in the beadwork for which their community is known. Rounded, slightly elongated, tiny beads are sewn onto deer hide. When making a quilt, the Grinnells used small rectangular cloth pieces to evoke similar designs. Charlie and Julia's quilts were first featured outside their community in a 1988 exhibition. By the way, did I tell you that this story is going to rock you? Like, it is the twists and turns in the story. Just eat a chip. Don't go anywhere. Excuse me. Charlie and Julie's quilts were first featured outside their community in a 1988 exhibition called Native Needlework, Contemporary Indian Textiles from North Dakota, mounted by the North Dakota Council on the Arts. At the time of the show, Charlie Grinnell said of their work, when I first met, here's one of their quilts, okay? Just make sure you can see it. Okay, great. When I met my wife, and then he talks, he was like, I'll finish that. And anyway, okay, so we read that. A decade later, one of the artist's distinctive beadwork quilt designs, Daybreak or Dawn, okay? This is the quilt you're looking at, Daybreak or Dawn. It was made in 1995, okay? Daybreak or Dawn. It was acquired by Michigan State University. Oh yeah, I said University of Michigan before. I'm so sorry. MSU, Michigan State University. Yeah, it was acquired by MSU. Daybreak, where Marcia McDowell is. Daybreak or Dawn was included in the major exhibition to honor and comfort Native quilting traditions organized in 1998 by the Smithsonian National Museum of the American Indian in partnership with the MSU Museum. After that, an abbreviated version of the Honor and Comfort exhibition toured to tribal museums and smaller galleries in North America. Shockingly, in 2008, you know what? Yep. Sorry. Thank you, Ivy. I'm too busy reading. Thank you. This is the correct orientation. Okay. The Honor and Comfort exhibition toured to tribal museums and small galleries in North America. Shockingly, in 2008, there was a break-in at one of those exhibition showings. Only one quilt was stolen. Daybreak or Dawn. Yeah. Only one quilt was stolen, and it was this one. I mean, I'm not even going to play the boo sound effect. I want to honor the moment. Okay, hang on. Yeah. You can see in, yes, is that, I'm not sure if I'm looking at quilting or like quilting stitches or beads, but there are, there are beads in the quilt. So anyway, okay. Let's take a look at the family picture. Okay, museum curators at MSU reached out to the Grinnells to ask if they would consider making a replacement. Alas, their arthritis prevented them from creating a replica. The couple did, however, connect the curators with their grandson, Ben Youngbear, Jr. Ben's mother, Joyce Beston, taught him to quilt from an early age. Just as her mother had taught her to quilt and as her grandmother taught her mother. Surely Ben would be able to recreate Daybreak or Dawn. Oh! When they contacted him, the curators learned that Ben had endured a tragedy. 3 years earlier, the young man was working as a security guard at Red Lake Senior High School in Red Lake, Minnesota. He was on duty when the school became the site of a shooting massacre. Tragically, another security guard, a teacher, and 5 students were killed by a former student who was retaliating, he said, for being bullied. The Red Lake Massacre made national news and sent shockwaves through the small community. As Ben said of the shooter at the time, quote, "He didn't give us no grief or nothing." unquote. Ben shared that while he had previously taken a break from quilting, he found solace in the art following this traumatic experience. And so, working from a color photograph supplied by the MSU Museum team, Ben did indeed make a nearly identical Daybreak or Dawn quilt. He then took a picture of himself with his grandparents standing in front of the restored quilt before sending both the quilt and the photo to the curators at MSU. By this time, the Grinnell's quilt had acquired a remarkable history, but the quilt story would take another turn. Do you need a break, people? This is the final chapter to the story. By this time, the Grinnell's quilt had acquired, several years after the theft of the original quilt, the director of the museum where the robbery took place, I cannot. Sorry. Found a trash bag mysteriously placed on the museum's front steps. Inside was the original Daybreak or Dawn. No trace of the person who stole the quilt, or why only that quilt was taken from the exhibit, was ever found. Returned to the MSU Museum, the quilt was displayed with Ben's replica and the photo of the three quilt makers. In 2018, Ben contacted the MSU Museum to say that his grandfather sadly had passed on. He wanted to place photos of the pair of quilts, along with the photo of the three Daybreak or Dawn quilt makers, on the memorial board at the funeral home. Oh my God. I just can't. Without hesitation, the museum staff shared the photos. With that, the journey of the three quilt artists and two special quilts would continue to be intertwined both physically and spiritually. Native Americans often refer to the concept of 7 generations, respecting those who came before, caring for one's current generation, and acting to safeguard the future, of the next generation. The stories of these two quilts bear solid testimony to the importance of passing on knowledge and tradition from one generation to another. It's so good, right? Woo! I know. You can't make it up. You can't make it up. And oh my God, was Marsha McDowell, God, fuck. Her article was brilliant, really, really good. And I have some information and some things about the Quilt Index that I want to share. I'm not going to do it tonight, but I need to remind you of the Quilt Index, and I need to do more. I always need to do more. Like every organization, I just want to highlight everything all the time. And anyway, MSU, Marsha McDowell, Beth Donaldson, those women there at MSU, they're doing great work. They have these quilts, they have this story. Marsha wrote this story. They have amazing things there. So use the Quilt Index, go there, poke around. They have amazing things. And we have this because of their work, to keep it. So thank you, Quilt Index. Whew. Yeah. Gentle hug, yo. Indeed. Okay. Okay, moving on. Happy Father's Day to everybody. Okay, this quilt. You know what? I'm just changing gears because we have to. I was looking at Amish quilts earlier. Amish quilts are not the quilts that I just go toward, naturally early in my quilt journey, looking at history. Amish quilts, did not, I don't know. I didn't spend hours looking at them. They're beautiful, they're wonderful, but I don't know. They're just not my first thing. But maybe that's because I don't know enough about them, Maybe I need to really know more about them. So I was looking at some Amish stuff, and I was like, what about the dudes? Were there male quilt makers, Amish quilt makers? And I am sure that there's been plenty written about this kind of thing. Janniken Smucker, the foremost expert on Amish quilts these days, as far as I know, has surely studied this, written about it. She could tell us. But my cursory flip through, most of the quilts are not, the maker was once known and is no longer known. So I'm not sure. Maybe some of the makers were male. But Hey, thanks, Robin. Robin says thank you, and Word and Burner, thank you to my mods for helping out. That stuff is so important, and I really appreciate it. They put the Quilt Index link in the chat. So I'm looking around and trying to see if I could see some men, and I didn't. But then in this book, this Shaw book, I found this quilt, and look, listen to this. I mean, that's a very Amish-looking quilt, right? Yes, but it's a contemporary quilt. It's by Stan Book. It was made in 1990. Sorry, it's so cold. He's from Upland, California. This is cotton. It's cotton machine pieced and then hand quilted by Mary Stoner in Pennsylvania. Imagine Pennsylvania. 54 by 51 inches. Shaw writes, Stan Book is a fine artist who has adopted the quilt as his medium of choice. As a painter, he was drawn to pre-World War II Amish quilts, which he found important to his study of pattern and color interaction. His quilts build on the Amish tradition by incorporating the conscious influence of such modern artists as Cezanne, Klee, Albers, and Rothko. Book, who teaches art in public schools, designs, sews, and marks the quilts for quilting. The fine hand quilting, typically 9 to 12 stitches per inch, is done by skilled needleworkers. Although the 9 narrow violet bars in this quilt are perceived as 3 sets of 3 different shades, all these bars are actually the same color. Hence, the title of the quilt, Subjective Violet. Interesting. One of them color tricks. One of them tricks of the eye, eh, Stan? Yeah, that's good stuff. I'm gonna eat a crisp. I think it'll help. Yeah. People are loving the Esprit Collection stuff. Yeah, I know. You know what? You really learn about quilt culture on this show. The Esprit Collection, it's famous. You know about it. You're like, oh yeah, the Esprit Collection. Julie Silver. I'm reading. Yeah. I think there's different editions of that book. I mean, that Amish Esprit book. I feel like I saw a huge one at Jonathan Holstein's house. And, I mean, it was as big as my head. But I have a different Esprit Collection book anyway. We'll figure it out. So yeah, the different colors of the different bars, the 3 bars that look like Wolverine's, marks as he's like, they're all the same color of purple, but they do all look a little bit different. At least Stan Book would like us to think so, but I think they do. He's right. Okay, what else do we got? What other men quilts do we have? Okay, so these, so I have this catalog, which was this was an exhibit that I guess it started at the Craft and Folk Art Museum. This is the museum catalog anyway, and it says that on the back, 2015 Craft and Folk Art Museum, Los Angeles. Interesting. But I know I got this copy of this at the International Quilt Museum because the International Quilt Museum had this exhibit. It was a touring exhibit. Clearly, I got the museum copy. I know I didn't get it, illegally, so I feel like I remember Leslie Levy saying, it's okay, just take that one. So anyway, so this is Contemporary Male Quilters, and it was an exhibit in 2015. Yes, it began at the Craft and Folk Art Museum, and then it went to Asheville Art Museum in North Carolina, and then it went on to the International Quilt Study Center, the International Quilt Museum in 2016. So I must have been there in 2016 and stole the museum copy of the book. Okay, Ben Venom on the front. Indeed, Ben Venom. Good job, Stephanie. It's true. It's Ben Venom. I took a few. So let me read this. So I'm going to read you the curator's notes here. Okay, because I think it. Oh yeah, thanks, Deamery. I think it is appropriate as we're looking at quilts by men to read, what a curator of an exhibit of all male quilt makers would have to say about this. And I should say too that I remember Joe Cunningham, whose quilts are in this. He has a couple quilts in this exhibit. I believe he wrote a blog post about it or a newsletter about how he won't do any all male shows anymore, all male reviews. And I really respect him and his brain. And so I can't tell you exactly, what he had to say about it, but I think he said that he's not going to do that anymore. And he surely has very intelligent, thoughtful reasons for saying so. He's great, by the way. You probably know, but if you don't know, Joe Cunningham is, he's a special guy, He's a great artist, and he's also just very cool. So this is what Suzanne Ixon, the curator of this show, says about Man-Made. Quote, Man-Made Contemporary Male Quilters is the first museum exhibition in Los Angeles to examine the unique aesthetics and techniques that men bring to a craft long associated with feminine arts and labor. The 8 exhibiting artists are part of a loosely knit, growing community of male quilters whose quilts use striking contemporary images and compositions. Contemporary imagery, and compositions, which navigate their personal interests, often related to painting, film, and popular culture. Okay, that's true for women too, but she's not saying it's not. Though minorities in the field of quilting, there are many male quilters nationwide. The artists selected for this exhibition are leading figures in the evolution of the art quilt movement, a quilting practice developed in the 1980s that is akin to painting and led by professional artists versus domestic makers. I don't know. I would write that differently. It's fine. Art quilts diverge from the parameters of conventional quilting by experimenting with the ways in which quilts can represent concepts and ideas rather than patterns. These 8 artists use powerful central images to represent their subjective interests and their prior training in architecture, painting, filmmaking, science, or sculpture to inform their making. Most of the exhibiting artists, this is important. Most of the exhibiting artists were conscious of their male gender identity when they took, this is a Joe Cunningham quote, by the way, one of my favorite, I think my favorite that I've ever seen of his. I love it. Yeah, I know, Scrapitude. I'm feeling a scrap attitude right now. Most of the exhibiting artists were conscious of their male gender identity when they took up quilting, which comes across in their irreverent use of alternative materials and processes. Addressing stereotypical qualities of maleness, Joel Otterson makes quilts from cement, and Ben Venom's quilts revolve around heavy metal music. We did a thing on Ben Venom months ago. Luke Haynes and Joe Cunningham are masters of industrial machine-based quilting, while Aaron McIntosh and Sean Quinlan tackle mass media-generated ideals of masculinity and sexuality. Jimmy McBride's quilts offer a view into the imaginary sci-fi world of a space trucker. And In addition to addressing the push and pull of gendered work, the inherent dichotomies in quilt making have become an integral part of the work exhibited in Man-Made. Quilting involves making something whole out of small bits. Okay, then they just talk about quilting. For this group of artists, the process of constructing a quilt I don't know, Suzanne. I'm gonna give it a. I don't know. I mean, there's just, look, when people, here's something that's interesting. When you, Mike said something, he used a term the other day. He said, it's an interesting skill stack. He was talking about like working within the quilt world or whatever, the quilt system. And, you know, to really work thoughtfully in the quilt like industry in kind of any capacity, you need to know about quilts. And it's like, that might seem self-evident, but like it's not necessarily. I mean, if you're an editor of a magazine, if you're a good editor, like you should be able to like edit a magazine, right? But if it's a specific interest magazine, like a quilt magazine, it's really hard to knock it out of the park if you don't know about quilts. And so it's a specific skill stack, right? And so what I think is it's kind of tough. If you're a curator who curates a quilt show, but you don't know a ton about quilts, and maybe she does, I don't know. Oh God. Suzanne, I think I don't even know you. I'm just like, this is the first thing I've read. But it's just like, there seems to be some pieces missing. Now, if I had curated a show and written an introduction, do you think somebody out there is going to be like, ugh, Mary Fonts doesn't know what she's talking about? Yes. So it's fine. Anyway, yeah. So this is a quilt by, I'm dropping another name, my friend Luke Haynes. We had a very long conversation with the other day. Yes, that's right. That's right. It was great to talk to him. It had been a very, very long time. This quilt is from his series, The American Context. So this is the American Context number 16, Christina's World. This was made by Luke in 2012, and it's made of used clothing. Used clothing, new fabric, cotton batting, thread, of course. It is 110 by 90. And yes, it's referencing Wyeth's painting, Christina's World, which was painted in 1948. I'm going to start at the top and just scroll down slowly. I want to do a whole thing on Luke, so this is the only quilt I have of his today. But here's something about Luke Haynes from this exhibit. Luke Haynes, born 1982, attended University of North Carolina School of the Arts before graduating from Cooper Union in New York. He currently lives in Los Angeles, and that was true when this came out, but then he moved to Kansas and got married, and now he's back in LA. Luke is a quilter who likes, quote, to blur the distinction between function and art and alter the way objects are perceived. Haynes is known for his portrait quilts that often depict himself, his family and friends, or celebrities in a variety of contexts. Quote, I'm doing my best to change the preconceptions of functional objects and challenge the paradigms of craft. There are 10 pieces in American context that illustrate my work with used clothing and fabric within the language of quilts to recontextualize these art icons and bring both quilting and fine art to a collision that is visually accessible to a wide cross-section of viewers and thinkers, a collision of what is deemed fine art and what is deemed craft. Oh, Luke. He continues, the intention is to work on elevating the response to quilting in the public eye to one of more merit within the world of exhibiting art and fine object making. Hey, I do match. Oh, it's true. Susan, it's Susan. Oh my God, Susan. So yeah, it's great, right? It's great. I love it. I love Luke's work, and it's changed a lot. I mean, he did these sort of portrait quilts and things, and then he changed. Yeah, I like it too, Charles. I like it a lot. He's a very interesting person, a really good person. Okay, one more from the man-made exhibit, and then two more. Oh no, what am I gonna do? Oh, I'm gonna show the space one. Hang on, we're gonna come back to this one. Here's space. Quilts in Space. This is by Jimmy McBride. Hang on. Sore throat. You got to stay with me, people. You got to stay with me while I take water. I mean, I don't think you're going to... Anyway, just whatever. Okay, M1V2. This is called M1V2, The Crab Nebula. 2011. Hand and machine quilted, hand embroidered. Oh, wow. Oh, it's really cool. Oh, I hadn't looked at it close up yet. This is really great. Hey, Miss Elaney. This is really, really cool. Yeah. Right. Yvonne, exactly. Yeah, Fashionista Cake loves a space quilt. I like a space quilt too, and I gotta say, this is way cooler up close than I even realized. I mean, these plaids? Seriously? Talk about matching. I could be in the quilt. Hand and machine quilted, hand embroidered, 87 by 78. Jimmy McBride says this of M1V2, the Crab Nebula. Quote, made with fabric given to me by inhabitants of the Arctic rainforests of Taunay and the traders on a distant mining station. Okay, excuse me, hold on. Mods, can you help us with Taunay? And traders on a distant mining station, thread from old vacuum blankets, M1, or the Crab Nebula, is a supernova remnant and pulsar wind nebula surrounding the Crab Pulsar, a neutron star. Wow. That's amazing. That is freaking amazing. Look at his embroidery up in here. Oh, wow. Oh, I love it. Eric, you better be watching this. You don't have to say anything. I know you're there. But that's, I mean, holy cow. I love it. But what is it? You know what? It's like, when I started reading this, made with fabric given to me by inhabitants of the Crab Nebula. Like, I was waiting for him to be like, no, I love it. I love this quilt. I love it so much more than because look, I saw it and it was like, I was like, oh, that's amazing. Here's another one of his, really cool. But I saw that and I was like, well, I love that. But I didn't realize that these plaids, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a Molly Upton kind of vibe, Susan Hoffman. They were Radka Donnell. I've been saying her name wrong this whole time, by the way. Nancy before told me that. I was saying Radka Donnell, and it's like Donnell. Anyway. But all those chicks in the 70s, those quilt-making chicks in the 70s were using plaid. Well, Jimmy McBride was like, if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me, and space. So I think this is really neat. I think it's a really, really neat thing. Oh, the other Mary Kate says, this is good. Ooh, this is really good. Mary Kate says, I wrote a profile of this guy, of Jimmy McBride, for Quilters newsletter back in the day. I don't know if he's still quilting. Unfortunately, we didn't get his quilts sent to the office for photography, but used his high-res images. I'm glad you got them. I'm so glad you did a profile on him. This is probably part of his original sci-fi narrative series versus the ones he made from Hubble telescope photos. First of all, thank you for the intel. That's amazing. And it is very, you don't know if he's still quilting. When was that? It was probably, was it around this time? He made this in 2011. The exhibit was in 2015. Very interesting. I love it. I think it's really cool. Ivy Godivi has a question. Do you think it's iron-on applique? Mary Kate might know. This is, okay. So this one, and then we'll go back to that other one. This is just, I'm not going to go too far into it. It's called the Garden Floor Concrete Crazy Quilt. It's made by Joel Otterson. Oh yeah, and he's the guy who made the other one. So here's another picture of this. The Garden Floor Concrete Crazy Quilt. Glazed ceramic. Oh, and we had the New York subway quilt before. Ceramic tiles. Ceramic tiles, is that really going to show up that often? No. On this show. Did it show up twice tonight? Yes. That's weird. I didn't plan that out. 87 by 87. Yeah, glazed ceramic, stone, marble, concrete, the Garden Floor. Kind of cool. Yeah, I like it. I do. I like it, actually. Actually, I love it. It's very chic. It would be very chic to put in your house. Ooh, Warden Bernard says maybe Jimmy McBride will do some quilts from the James Webb Space Telescope image. Yeah, that would be great. There's so many wonderful space images that have come out since he made that quilt. He needs to catch up. Okay, here's the last one, you guys. This is called Rags to Riches. And the date on it is 1993 through 2012. And this is Joel Otterson, okay, the guy who did the concrete thing, the ceramic thing. Here's what he says about this, quote. It's called Rags to Riches. Rags to Riches. Quote, Mrs. Woodson lived 3 houses down from me in Covington, Kentucky. She lived in the house for 60 years and was 96 when she died. She willed the house to her great-grandson. He moved in and threw everything away to make room for his home entertainment center and to rebuild his Chevy 427 engine on the kitchen floor. Every night I would go through his garbage to rescue all of his great-grandmother's bed linens, tea towels, curtains, etc. He threw away a lifetime of her handiwork, embroidered his and her pillowcases and doilies. Everything went into the garbage. It was such a waste. Nothing was sentimental to him. I felt compelled to retrieve these treasures and to make something useful out of his unsentimental and wasteful decision to trash all of her stuff. That was in 1993. But today, Rags to Riches is a lasting tribute to Mrs. Woodson's memory and handiwork." Unquote. According to Otterson, the naked Tom of Finland cowboy embroidered on the back side of the quilt means you never have to sleep alone. Hello! I love it. Well, and then we end with a little nod to pride as we began it. Amazing. Wow. Wow. Incredible. Yeah, okay, I have one more quote from this guy because he's earned it. Listen to this. Bridgewater, you're going to love this. This is Joel Otterson, again, briefly. Quote, "Traditionally, men did tailoring." I'll show you this guy again. "Traditionally, men did tailoring, but quilting, embroidery, and lace making was women's work. I do all those things. I'd like to think that it's a political statement. I'm a feminist, but not the Gloria Steinem kind. On occasion, I have met up with a friend in Central Park. He's big, manly, and smokes cigars, and I'm bearish. He would tat, and I would crochet. Oh, God. Even in NYC, where anything goes, this was outrageous. Two blue-collar-looking guys sitting on a park bench making strips of lace. Oh, my God, I love New York City so much. New York City! New York City, we started the show with New York City. It was crazy, he says, and I loved every minute of it. The bottom line is that something made by hand is completely different than that made by a machine or in a factory. I celebrate what my hands and their 10 fingers can do." Oh, that's so great. That's so great. Was that not amazing? Well, we'll be visiting him again on this show. Oh my God. Joel Otterson wins the show. Excuse me. Joel Otterson, FTW. I think it's time for a quick break. Quick break, and then I'm telling you, this is the last quilt that I have to show you that was made by a fella. But this gets us into the second part of the show, which is going to blow your mind. I keep finding amazing quilts because you know what? Amazing quilts really exist. And this quilt was made, this is cotton flour sacks. It was made in Georgia by a man whose story you will not believe. You just won't believe it. Is it the most beautiful thing you've ever seen? Yes. Is it going to take us into Georgia, deep into Georgia, and quilts made by enslaved people in Georgia around the time of the Civil War? Yes, it will take us there because a quilt can take you anywhere. And we are going to go and see 6, 7 of the most extraordinary quilts. I mean, I couldn't, I'll tell you. Give me 5 minutes, take a break. We'll be right back. Okay, great. Okay, yeah, okay. How's it going? The light's a little bright. I saw Just So Jane come in. Hey, Just So Jane, I'm really glad you're here. I'm gonna take the lights down lower for you. I don't know if that's a good idea. Anyway, I'm really glad you're here. I was sitting here, I went and, did the thing with the bathroom, and then I came back and I sat here for a moment eating some crisps because my throat needs, they're salt and vinegar crisps, and it helps my throat. And so I could see that Just So Jane came in, and I'm sorry. Yeah, Just So Jane. Just So Jane came in, and Myra can't make it to her sewing group. Oh, darn. No, I'm sorry, you can't go to your sewing group. Someone is taking the car. I'm glad it's your husband that took it. But I'm glad you're here. So, and Ivy Kadivy went to Parsons and thinks that she may have gone to Parsons with Joel Otterson. Anyway, lots of things are happening in the chat. Okay. So everybody is cool. People are talking about things. Mary Kate has gotten a cool thing. Okay. I'm not gonna go back because there's too much to do. We're gonna go into the second half of the show because there's so much to share with you. But one thing before I do that, so I'm gonna do a giveaway, you guys. Now, you know what? If it's okay if you're out there. You sent me an email a long time ago, which I loved and which I cherish, and it was really helpful because it helped me. It guided me to think about a thing differently than I was thinking about it. So anyway, so thank you very much. Anyway, so I have all these duplicate books. I have a duplicate. I have duplicate books. For example, that beautiful Hawaiian quilt that I showed you earlier from Robert Shaw's book on Hawaiian quilts. Yeah, I already had that book and I ordered it like a couple weeks ago. And so I'm looking for my tab. I grabbed the book off the shelf and I'm like, where's the tab that I had? And then I'm like, why is it in that place? And then anyway, I realized, like earlier today that I have 2 copies of it, Oh, that's so cool, Ivy. That's great. So I have duplicate books and that's not helpful. I mean, if one quilt history book is good, more are better, but not the same book. So I should give them to you, don't you think? So if you subscribe to this channel, you get entered in all the giveaways. And so on the last day of the month, I'm gonna do the thing where I a computer randomly picks a subscriber from the subscriber list, tier 1, 2, or 3, whatever tier you subscribe at. You get to enter it into the drawing, and you could win a book like this. Or, you know what I even have? You know what I have? Hang on. I even have, oh my God, my throat. I even have one of these. I mean, they're good, I don't have janky quilt books. I even have this. Oh yeah. Good heavenly days. Penny McMorris and Michael Kyle's book, The Art Quilt. Got an extra copy. Oh, let me make sure it's not my mom's or something. Oh God. Oh no, that one's autographed. Maybe the other one's autographed too. I don't know. But this, there's good stuff in there. Uncoverings. I have some duplicate copies of Uncoverings. Oh my gosh, I forgot to tell you. I mean, I should be telling you that till the end of the month, for a couple more weeks, you can become a member of the American Quilt Study Group for a reduced price through Quilt Nerd. The American Quilt Study Group produces Uncoverings. They do many things. They are the original quilt nerds. They are an important organization. We need them. If you ever want to research something and write about it, the American Quilt Study Group is a place you need to be. If you use the coupon code QuiltNerd15, if you're a new member, instead of $75 for a year membership, you just pay $60. You should definitely become a member of AQSG. Molly and I are going to present a poster. And can I tell you something? I have to tell you something. Somebody told me the other day that the lecture I'm giving, it's called a study center, but the lecture I'm giving at the seminar, because they do a seminar every year, which is really fun too, and you should come. And Molly and I are going to present something. And Molly and I met on this show with you. It's Molly. And we met on this show, and we're doing a thing together now. An American Quilt Study Group's owner. But I'm giving this this lecture, and it's sold out. It's sold out. I was like, Eric, my thing is sold out. Because somebody wanted to register for it, and they were like, I couldn't register because it's sold out. And I was like, I didn't think anybody was going to come, because, Mary Fonz, who does she think she is, I'm serious. I'm not trying to be like, I'm not. I was really like, I don't know. Like, I felt like a little bit of a maverick weirdo, But apparently people want to see what I have to say. And I'm giving the Quilts and Fine Art lecture, plus some extra stuff. Hey, Jill Alex. Jill Alex is like, yeah, you're sold out. Jill, okay, let me just tell you something right now. And this is for the record on the internet forever. If you're in AQSG and you've been there for a while, just close your ears. If you're a quilt nerd and you're at seminar, I will find a job for you that I need help with, and you can come into the lecture. Jill, come on. You're gonna be there. But that's really, you know what? It's really encouraging. And I'm telling you because I can share with you good news, and that is fine. And it does not mean that I am being boastful. It means that I'm happy, and for once, I'm not going down on myself. I'm up on myself. So, but I tell you also because I was kind of intimidated by AQSG, but you know what? I pitched my lecture, and I gave them a pitch, and I was like, I would like to do this thing, and they were like, that sounds good, and now people are gonna come. And you know what I'm gonna talk about when I give that lecture? You. Okay. So the last part, thank you everybody, that's very nice. Where is it happening? Yvonne asks. So Jill wants to go, but it's so expensive. So it's in San Diego, far from us, Ivana. It's in San Diego, the end of September. It's like September 28th through October 2nd. And it is expensive. It's not, I think my registration, it's like $500. Like it's serious. I'm using Southwest credits to get there. It's a lot. I'd like to come a day earlier and like try to meet some people, hang out with people, but I'm gonna have to come in for the thing and then go. But if you got a pal in the San Diego area, go see her, go say hey, and be like, can I use you for your lodging? But yeah, go to the mods. My brilliant mods have put the links in the chat, and go check it out. And if you want to become a member, I'm a member, and a bunch of other nerds have signed up too. I think there's like 20 people who've signed up with that coupon code. That's really awesome. Thank you. That's really great. That makes a really good impression on the American Quilt Study Group when it's like all these people from this quilt nerd community are coming in to show interest in things. It's awesome. It's really good for everybody. Okay. So, ooh, Jill, I know. Girl, I know. Maybe next year I'll be giving away tickets to seminar. Ooh, that's a good goal. That would be amazing. Oh my God. That's a very high value. Okay, here we go. Let's do this. I gotta get small. Oh, that was small. So, this book, I'll show you the picture. I've got a big picture on the screen to show you in just a second. So, the Georgia Quilts book. Okay, let's just do it right now. Okay, fine. I usually crop an image closer than the one I've got up here now, but I really wanted you to see these tabs. Look at all those tabs. And then my ghostly hand over there. But of all the state documentation books, there are so many really good ones, but the Georgia Quilts book is really great. And if you want to, one of the mods wants to throw it in, quiltnerd.link/Georgia is my affiliate link for buying this book used on eBooks. I don't know how much it is. I don't know. It's really thick and it's really great. I don't know if it's expensive. I don't know, but you can find it used. Pardon me. And it's wonderful. The pictures are gorgeous. The stories, as you're about to find out, are second to none. I just love this book. Even if I wasn't into quilts, and I'm not just saying that, like even if I was not like a quilt nerd, this book would be something I would want, because of what it has inside of it. And we have talked about this book before. I had an intro quilt months ago from one of the from this book, and we talked about it a little bit. But I mean, it's just really good. And so I dipped into this thing because I was looking for quilts by guys, and I was like, in the South, I'm thinking of Roland L. Freeman and the Communion of the Spirits book about quilt making by African Americans. And I was like, there are men in African American communities. I feel like there's enough of a number of men, African American men who have made quilts that I can find them. Like I was like, I'll find them. I wasn't just like pulling from like Connecticut, to find like a man-made quilt. But I was like, I'm going to go into Georgia. I'm going to go into Alabama, because I'm going to be able to find some dudes. And indeed, I pulled out Georgia quilts and I found this quilt. And once I found this quilt, once I was dipping into the Georgia book, I was toast. I was, for an hour, I was like, oh no. So we're going to talk about a few of the quilts that I found in this book because I couldn't get out of this. I couldn't get away. The story of this quilt, we'll go from here and then we'll get into just a few of the other ones. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know where you thought you were going, but I think you should park it. I think you should park it right there, because the quilts that you'll see from this book are really, really special, and they're rare. And then we're going to leave behind the Father's Day angle, and we've celebrated our guys, and we've looked at man-made quilts made by men. And now we're just going to move into Georgia, okay? We're moving into Georgia. Okay. Here's a picture of the man who made this quilt, okay? This is the Mclarty family in the early 1900s. James Mclarty is on the right side of the back row. Here's a quick question. So I've never actually asked you all. So one side of this picture is very blown out, like the picture has faded. As you're looking at your screen, am I closest to that young fellow, or am I not? Because I'm just trying to figure out if the screen flips for you. No, I wouldn't be on the other side of him. But for me, okay, let me put it this way. Sorry, that's not right. For me, the ghostly young man, he's on the left as I'm looking at your screen. I'm on the right. Okay, great. And he's on the left. Yeah. I'm next to the guy wearing a hat. Yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't be, so I was asking the wrong thing. I was asking, am I over here for you? But I'm not. But it is, yeah, stage left. Oh, Susan coming in with my fellow thespian. Okay. Good to know. So when I say the ghostly child is on my left, he's also on your left. Okay, cool. So James Mclarty is on the right side of the back row. Okay. Here's what the book says. James Mclarty, who was born in 1922, the father of Jimmy McLarty Tinch of Cartersville in Bartow County, made a handmade patchwork quilt, a variation of basket. Mr. McLarty died when Jimmy was very young, and her mother earlier in the same year. Sisters Henrietta and C. Farrell had died as infants, and brother Joe lived only to be 8 or 9. The only mama she remembers was her mother's sister, Ella Boyd, who reared Jimmy, an older sister, Jenny V., and brother, Ples Columbus. PC was 9 years older and supplied most of the information that Jimmy has about her family. James McLarty came from a rural background in which quilting was a necessity. He learned to quilt when he was a child. Later, he worked for the railroad, and at the time of Jimmy's birth was living in Pennsylvania. Ill with measles, the whole family was further weakened by exposure to the cold while trying to put out a fire in their home. All suffered a major setback and were never well again. James McLarty managed to bring his family back to Georgia, where his wife, Julia, died. He did not live long after her death. Jimmy remembers playing in the scraps while Mama Ella pieced quilts, and later she made quilts for her own family. However, the basket quilt provides a tangible link to the parents she never knew. the colors in this quilt, like even if you wanted to get them, if you wanted to recreate this particular red, I mean, the red is like a crimson but a little deeper. The grayish is mottled and also purple. Like it's just amazing. And by the way, like, what do you think about this little moment? Oh, where's the chat? Sorry, guys. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't have the chat up there. I apologize. This is an interesting moment here. I mean, this looks like it's torn away, doesn't it? That the red is actually the red of the the binding. Robin's Nest, I didn't even plan it, but there's a lot of emotion in the show tonight. I mean, that's like a Twilight Zone moment too, frankly, because like these are heavy, beautiful family stories, you know, tonight, one after another after another. I don't know. I don't plan this stuff. I don't make the rules. I just work here. But that looks to me like that's torn away. And it makes me think that maybe there's that there's a blanket as the batting in this quilt, that it's been turned over. Threadist, you've got it. It looks like a sketch or a painting because of the colors and texture. Exactly. Thank you. I couldn't put my finger on it. That's exactly right. It looks like a painting. It looks like a Jasper Johns or something, right? It looks like some sort of treatment, like it's been treated, like a painting that's been treated. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciated that comment. Yeah. You see, look, here's another piece. It's totally a blanket being used as batting. There's no way that it's not that. Because, I mean, yeah, you should get the Georgia book and look at it more closely. It's wonderful. I mean, the color on your screen is pretty darn good. It's a very good scan, but anyway, so, and here they are, right? The family. So, like I said, I was like, well, I want to look at other things in this book, and so I did. Oh God, look at this. Just look at this quilt. I mean, I've had this tabbed for a long time. I'm gonna hide. Wait, I wanted to bring the chat back. Well, I'll bring it back in a second. I'm gonna hide too, because we need to look at this quilt. Yeah, I know, right? Okay. So you see the whole thing. Here is what we know about this quilt. By the way, the author of this book, well, the editor is Anita Zaleski Weinrob. Thank you, Anita. You are amazing. You did a very good job. Okay. Wall hanging or small quilt, possibly Leota Whitham, African American, LaGrange, Troup County, Georgia. Around 1880 is what they're placing. So it's framed. Look at that. I didn't realize. I didn't look at it. I didn't really understand. I thought it was like a golden fabric around it. No, it's framed. It's framed. Dated to around 1880. Yep, exactly, Susan. Exactly. 30 by 34 inches. Oh my God, look at the elephants. Look at the elephant. Oh my God. Hand appliqued cotton with homespun border. Collection of Robert Reeves. Although not a quilt, this now framed piece of hand applique is interesting for the images it contains. Note the man and the boy in stovepipe hats. Oh, snap! What? Oh my God. The soldiers in blue and gray. Where? Oh, these guys, they're soldiers. The heart in hand. The bales of cotton. Wow. The bales of cotton. Wait a minute. I mean, I've seen bales of things in my life, but like, I think it's these, right? Like that shape. like the red shape. The bales of cotton are probably the squiggly rectangles. Yeah, exactly. That's what I think. Look at the leaves and the elephants. I cannot with this piece. Okay. The bales of cotton, excuse me. The elephant, a lighted cabin. Okay. The lighted cabin. Let's find that. Oh my God. The lighted cabin. And the man drinking whiskey atop a mule. Okay, let's find him. Yes, we'll find you. Hee hee, look at him, there he is. Ah! I love it. The mule looks like he's been having a little tipple himself. I think I might need a cough drop. Okay. Also, the fox with the red eye. Oh, we saw him. Look at this guy. Wow. Either of the last two images, the fox with the red eye and the guy with the mule with the whiskey, could be interpreted as representing the devil or temptation. The elephant brings to mind those in the quilts of Harriet Powers. Indeed. And Harriet Powers was Georgia. She was a Georgian. Which, of course, she has her own chapter in this book, obviously. This is really, really great, right? I mean, that's a special piece of art. I don't need to tell you, Pretty exciting. And it's just, like I said in this book, it's just beautifully look at that gloss on that book. So you can see why I was like, well, I'm going to stay in this book for a while. Oops. I'm just going to stay here for a while. So, okay, how about this? Oh my gosh, forget it. People who don't, how do I say this? I don't know. I think people have an interest in quilts from the Civil War era. Like, I feel like the Civil War occupies this very, romantic, has this sort of romantic connotations, a war, Civil War, slavery, emancipation, slavery. Romance, maybe not, but there's this Gone with the Windage that happens with the Civil War. But quilts from the Civil War era are something people are really interested in. Barbara Brackman has written a book on it, maybe 2 books on it, I think. There's a lot of, I remember people, even when I didn't know much about quilt history, I'd be lecturing somewhere and I'd talk a little bit about quilts in America, and they'd be someone would bring up Civil War quilts somehow. And from what I knew and what I, is that there are not that many around. There's not as many as there quilts around as there are from the Depression era, because the Civil War was pretty brutal, and people were buried in them. Soldiers were they were used in hospitals, they were thrown out, they were worn out, So when you see quilts from the Civil War, it's kind of anyway, so this quilt, okay. And I didn't read all of this. So this, I don't know if this is a quilt from the Civil War, but it was made in 1860. So, we're talking about that kind of time period at least. And just the character of this quilt. Look at this. And we looked at a gunboat quilt once, where the ladies, the Confederate Army did not have government funding. They were funding their own thing. So the gunboat quilts were ways for, women made quilts that were then, were raising money for boats and guns and gunboats and stuff, and so quilts were raising money, and they were the ladies' sanitary aid and all that kind of stuff. Quilts are just a huge part. Like Scrapitude says, there were tens of thousands of quilts made then. Totally true. But this particular book has a lot of quilts from this time. Now let me Log Cabin, Frances May Hargrove. Okay. Ooh, okay, here's what they have to say about this. This looks like Robert Rauschenberg bed. That famous work Bed. I know that I know that Word and Bird Nerd or Robin is going to throw that link up in the chat. I mean, we've talked Robert Rauschenberg's piece, Bed, from 1965, is features in my lecture about quilts and fine art, of course. He painted a bed, he painted a quilt, an actual quilt, into a painting, you know, and look like this, but not as good. Okay. Tavern Veterans. Okay, so some this is what they say from the Georgia book. Some quilts went to war with soldiers, and a few even returned. The Georgia Quilt Project was able to document at least 2 such quilts during its quilt history days. That's what this book is all. It's the culmination of the quilt history days in Georgia. The Hargrove family, because this quilt was made by Frances Mays Hargrove, 1860. The Hargrove family in Marietta, just north of Atlanta, was, unlike many other homes in the area, not burned during the Civil War. Because Brigadier General Edward M. McCook used the residence as his headquarters. Wow, while recuperating from a wound. Oh, damn. The Hargrove house was built in 1840 by the elder Asbury Hargrove, in much the same style as many farmhouses of the time. A log cabin summer quilt, so called because it has no batting, has been passed down through the Hargrove family along with the following history. Okay, thank you, Word and Bird Nerd. Oh, Marietta. I went to a wedding in Marietta. Anyway, okay, yes, L. Riggs. This quilt was almost loved to death. Totally. Look, I'm in like the little notch. Okay. The quilt had been wrapped. Oh, are you okay? The emotion continues tonight. This is insane. The quilt had been wrapped around the body of young Asbury Hargrove at the Knoxville, Tennessee battleground where he fell. The slave sent to retrieve the body is said to have found Asbury. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Woo! Okay, I've never heard anything like this. Are you ready for this? I'm serious. This is insane. This is crazy. This is like one to remember, okay? I can't believe this. I can't believe I'm reading this. Okay. This quilt that you're looking at, okay, had been wrapped around the body of young Asbury Hargrove at the Knoxville, Tennessee battleground where he fell. The slave sent to retrieve the body is said to have found Asbury because he recognized the log cabin quilt as one made by Mrs. Hargrove. He placed the body in a buckboard wagon and returned home, where the son was buried in the family cemetery next to the house. I don't know. I mean, that's one I haven't heard before, you know? There's a lot of levels to that story that I've never heard before, you know? Wow. Okay. Recognizing, okay, I don't need to talk about it. Let's not talk about it. You heard the story. That's it. Okay. This one, I had seen this quilt before. I'm just moving on. I mean, like, what are we going to do? If we were here together, we would, like, lament. I don't know. Okay. This quilt. Moving on. James L.M. Baus Lone Star Quilt. Jill, it's not. It's, like, intense. I know, Myra. I know. I mean, I'm not trying to, like, steamroll over the conversation. I just don't know what to say to something like that. And, like, it's magic, and so I don't want to be like, no. Okay. This is amazing, too. Dr. James Emery Baus is a former mayor of Medlidgeville, Baldwin County, which was the capital of Georgia during the war. Sorry, this quilt was made by an enslaved maker once known. 1850, around 1850. So an enslaved person made this quilt. It is 87 by 87. It is a Lone Star pattern, and this is the story. Okay? All right. Okay. Dr. James Emery Baus was the former mayor of Midlitchville. Okay. The capital of Georgia during the war. Baus was the longest serving mayor in Midlitchville history. He is also the grandson of the original owner of a Lone Star quilt, said to have been made by a house servant. The Baus family home was near Shoulderbone Creek in Hancock County. The quilt is believed to date from around 1850. Look at this. I mean, you guys, this quilt is banged up. It is not clean, as in like it's got some wear on it. I mean, it's really, it's been through some changes, people. It's been through some changes. I know, Little Bird Stitch. Thank you, Threadist. Thank you. Because it's all happening right now. It's very emotional. Because, I don't read all this stuff ahead of time. I have a sense. And then I read it with you. And this is why I love that. Okay. It's been through a lot, this quilt, You might just want to throw it out, right? But you shouldn't. Okay. It was common knowledge that Confederate soldiers were frequently cold and hungry. So during the war, many families sent provisions to their loved ones serving in the army. This quilt is said to have been sent to Virginia, where James Elm Baus, a corporal in Company 1, 49th Regiment, sorry, that's terrible, was fighting with General Stonewall Jackson and Robert E. Lee. Wow. So an enslaved person made this quilt that was then sent to warm a soldier in the Confederate Army. James Ellum was first wounded at Chancellorsville, but continued to serve. He was not so lucky in the Battle of the Wilderness, where he sustained such severe hip wounds he was discharged in the fall of 1864 and sent home. James L. Baum brought the Lone Star quilt back to Georgia with him. Penned in ink on a front corner of the quilt. What? Where? Hold on. We got to go up. Is it here? Can we see it? We may not be able to see it. I think it might be down in this corner. Hang on. I think it might be down there. Oh, what is happening? Okay. Hang on. It might be here. Do I see, I think I see, a little thing. It's very difficult, but that's the closest. Yeah, exactly. Word and Bird Nerd, you got it. Exactly. Okay, so penned in ink on a front corner of the quilt is J.E. Baus. The stain on the binding. Oh my God. The stains on the binding are James's blood, according to his descendants. The family's 65 slaves were freed at the end of the war. Nothing is known about the maker of this quilt. Soon after his return from the war, James married Ada Smith. The quilt remains in the Baus family. Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, great. It's a really good book. Seriously, it's really, really a great book. Oh, look at this. Check this out. You ready for this? And that's not even, I don't know. I almost feel bad. I almost feel bad for what's happening here tonight, because it's really a lot. I feel I've been put through the ringer too, It's a lot of life, right? Okay, here we go. You guys doing okay? L. Riggs, these stories remind you that on both sides of any conflict, the people fighting came from families who loved them and wanted them to be warm. Listen, that humanity piece, it's the only way out of this stuff. It's the only way out. Good point. Indeed. Okay. So what are we looking at here? Would you like to know? Yes. Yes, I would like to know. Excellent. Dropping those surprise feels. Miss Fashionista Cake. Just, I mean, thank you for hanging in there because there's more. Okay. This is an original. This is categorized as original design. 1000%. We're here for it. By Charlotte Lumpy Henderson Cotton. 68 by 80. Circa 1910. Circa 1910. Okay. Now let me make sure I've got the right thing. Okay. Hang on. Okay, great. One quilt that stood out during the, hold on. Sorry. The cold is not letting me go just yet. One quilt that stood out during the Georgia quilt documentation days was documented at Old Cassville. The maker, an ancestor of the present owner, was described as coming from, quote, rural folk. The bold three-color design of this quilt, which forms a sort of cross, is typical of what many people envision when they hear the term African American quilt. The red and gold stripes, triangles, and diamonds resemble elements of Ghanaian kente cloth patterns, supporting the theory of surviving African design influences, which is contested, by the way, including Carolyn Maslumi, who is like, that's not a thing. I will trust me, but verify, because mods, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it at some point, because it's a contested thing that there are that African American quilt makers made quilts in a certain style because they were influenced by designs that came sort of in their DNA. They sort of had this desire to make quilts in a certain way because of from the cultures from which they came. But and I mean, it's a compelling theory, and maybe it's true, but it's not a definitive thing. Some people think that doesn't make any sense, and some people think that it makes a lot of sense. So just so you know. Okay. This type of quilt was the exception rather than the rule during the documentation days. In fact, this was the only quilt of such a striking design that was brought to a quilt history day. This is really, this is just beyond this. It's amazing. Look at the piecing. Look at this piecing. That's a unit, right? This sort of sugar cone looking thing. Yeah. It is. It's true. So Word and Bird Nerd asked, so Charlotte Lumpy. Yeah, this is the name of the maker. I know I should probably spell that because that does sound really, really kind of wild. So it's Charlotte, and then in quotes, this is her nickname, Lumpy Henderson Cotton. That's the name of the maker, and it's in the family. So the GQP documented in all, so the Georgia Quilt Project documented in all segments of the population many quilts that had clearly been well used. However, as a group, the African American quilts seen in Georgia, particularly the older ones, seem to have been used more, and thus were in poorer condition than many of the white-made quilts of similar age. This might be explained by the historically higher poverty rates among African Americans in Georgia than among whites, particularly before about 1970. With fewer resources, including quilts, many families have been unable to put aside quilts for company, right? The fancy quilts, right? That was my aside. Put aside quilts for company, resulting in more wear on the quilts that they had. The African American quilts documented in Georgia were largely made for the same reasons white people made quilts, for their usefulness, for the pleasure of making them, as gifts. Black Georgians also enjoy quilting together, although contemporary black quilting groups encountered by the GQP, with the exception of the brown sugar stitchers, love it, tended to be smaller and less formal than the predominantly white guilds that typically have charters, bylaws, and officers. Fascinating. So good, right? So good. Okay. Oh, look at this one. Just a few more. Then I should probably rest my voice. I don't know. I've got the energy to go tonight. I need a crisp. I got the energy tonight. The will is strong, but the flesh is weak. Or something. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this beauty. You know what? I want to just make books. That's all I want to do all day. Make books. Well, I want to do this show and I want to make books. Like this. I know. This is amazing. It's amazing. Okay. Mariner's Compass Variation. Mariner's Compass Variation. Maker once known. If you're new here, a lot of quilts are attributed to anonymous when we don't know the name of the person who made it. A lot of quilts, when we don't know the name of the person who made it, are attributed to maker unknown or unknown artist, unknown maker. Around here, we like to say, thanks to the Native American Museum in Phoenix, quilt maker once known. Because she was once known. I'd like somebody to say that there was this show made by a Twitch live streamer once known. If they don't know my name later, that's what I would, because I am known. People are known at the time that they make things, and I think it's kind of respectful. Anyway, here's the story about this quilt. It was made in 1860, so again, Civil War time. 87 by 78. Okay. Michelle Rogers. Let's zoom in on this. This is really something. Director of the Bartow History Center in Cartersville, furnished the following account to the Georgia Quilt Project, as told to her by Elizabeth Mosteller Parkham. Bridgewater, you said I quilt my job. Did you know that? Did you notice that? You said I quilt my job 25 plus years ago to become a bookbinder. You quilt your job, eh? Shouldn't we all just quilt our job and go do something else that is fun? That's beautiful. I love that. That's really, really cool. That's really cool. Okay. Michelle Rogers, director of the Bartow History Center in Cartersville, furnished the following account to the GQP as told to her by Elizabeth Mosteller Parkham. Quote, the Mosteller family lived near Adairsville, Bartow County, Georgia, for most of the 19th century. During the Civil War, a refugee family from the north of Bartow County stopped at the Mosteller home for food and shelter. Oh my God. Although the refugee family had no money, they wanted to pay the Mostellers for their kindness. So they gave the quilt as payment. The Mosteller family took the quilt and passed it down through succeeding generations. Hey, Raffle. Really? Oh, really? Is that what happened? Is that the story of this quilt? God. What is happening? I mean, really? Ms. Parkham donated the exquisite Mariner's Compass variation to the Bartow History Center in memory of her father, Joseph Mosteller. It's not known where the refugee family was from or how long they remained with the family. They're like, you saved our lives and we can't pay you for anything, but we can give you this. Dead. This is like getting to be not okay. I'm going to give you one more, people. It's a problem. Is it a full moon? Robin, is it a full moon? I'm not surprised. You know what? M. Sujan, this show has crossed over into another dimension tonight. I know, and you know what? I kind of don't want it to stop. How many quilts do I really have? Okay, I really do just have one. No, I really do just have one. Yeah, okay. It's a really good one. Oh wait, but there's this. I forgot to show you this. There's this, and then there's one more quilt. Are you ready for this? You're not ready. Is it a quilt? No. Is Quilt Nerd about the world? Yes. I don't have to tell you all that, but okay. What is this item? What is this object? This comes from this book, okay? I want to meet this person, Anita Zaleski Weinraub. You know? Like, okay. What are we looking at? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was going to say the full moon. Yeah, all of you. I mean, yeah. It's okay, not to mention, exactly, it's okay. Hey, we've got a new follower. I'm so glad that you're here. You've come in it's an intense show tonight. It's always a good time. Tonight it's like a good time plus. Okay, anyway. Yeah, the moon. I mean, I really don't usually think about the moon and the stars that much, but when there's a full moon, when I was a waitress, it was like people were crazy during a full moon, and we were like, it's a thing. Okay, anyway. So here. What you're looking at is an ivory scrimshaw bust of Nora August. The artist who made it was once known. It's dated 1865. So that's like, didn't the Civil War end in 1965? Something like that. Here we go. This extraordinary piece, although not signed, has several inscriptions carved into the neck. One reads, quote, Nora August, St. Simon's Island, Georgia. Carved, this is still the quote, okay? I will say unquote when it's not, okay, just because it's crazy. Quote, on the neck, Nora August, St. Simon's Island, Georgia. Carved from life. Retreat Plantation. Presented to the nurses of Darien, Georgia, the year of our Lord, 1865. Unquote. Another says, quote, Nora August, slave, aged 23 years, purchased from the market, St. Augustine, Florida, April 17th, 1860, now a free woman, unquote. Also carved into the neck is a medallion depicting a slave in chains kneeling before a woman, perhaps symbolic of Lady Liberty. In the background is a sailing ship and another inscription, quote, sold east of Plaza, 1860. Am I not a man and brother, unquote. This medallion, designed by Josiah Wedgwood in 1787, was later adopted as the official seal of the Anti-Slavery Society in London. It has been suggested that the scrimshoner could have been a New England whaler serving in the Union Navy or Marines and stationed on St. Simon's during the Civil War. Union troops invaded St. Simon's in March 1862. The Retreat Plantation land is now a golf course at the Sea Island Company Resort. The bust of Nora August is on permanent display at the clubhouse near where she lived. Photo by Catherine Wetzel, courtesy of the Museum of the Confederacy, Richmond, Virginia, and the Sea Island Company. Carved from life. So one thing that it makes me think of is there's a very famous abolitionist quilt. There are a number of quilts that have abolitionist sentiment, as part of the design. And there is one that I'm thinking of, very famous one, that I believe has that same quote, "Am I not a man and brother?" I think those words are inscribed on one of the quilts I'm thinking of. So, yeah, this I had never seen this before. I never read about it before. I've never seen anything like that. It's very, very special. So I'm glad we could look at that together. Okay. The last quilt I have for you tonight from this Georgia book. This is a special show. I'm really grateful for this show. Okay. Here it is. All right. You ready? Okay. This is historically, this is a big, this is something that like later when, you're trying to win quilt friends and impress people, or influence people, win friends and influence people, at AQSG seminar or something. This seems like a pretty big deal. So let's see what they have to say here. The earliest quilt documented that is believed to be made by an African American, dates from the first quarter of the 19th century. Y'all, we're looking at this quilt. It is a chintz applique, enslaved maker once known, 1800 to 1830. It's 104 by 110 inches. 104 by 110 inches. I mean, that's a big ass quilt. Okay, hand appliqued and hand quilted chintz. Collection of Sidney Lanier chapter of the Daughters of the Confederacy, Macon, Georgia. Okay, all right. The earliest quilt documented, believed to be made by an African American, dates from the first quarter of the 19th century. It is an expertly made broderie purse chintz applique quilt of the type discussed in Chapter 2. A note pinned on a piece of muslin in a handwriting style of long ago and reflecting the family's oral history was carefully sewn to the reverse of the quilt. Quote, "This quilt was made by an African woman, bought from a ship in Charleston Harbor by John Everingham." Oh my God. Okay, this naked savage was trained to be a fine seamstress. Oh, okay. And waiting maid by his wife, Rebecca. She gave the quilt to her great niece, Rebecca Wadley, who gave it to her daughter, Tracy Wadley, in 1905, unquote. Although this description is offensive to modern readers, yeah, that took a turn. Its sentiments are typical of the early 20th century. The writer praises the enslaved African for creating such a beautiful piece while crediting the white mistress with teaching the slave. Fuck. Many Africans would have been familiar with the sewing and weaving techniques of their native lands. This presumed savage had talent or experience that enabled her to adapt, and quickly learn the new Anglo-American needlework techniques taught to her by her mistress. The quilt is physical evidence that she was an accomplished needlewoman and anything but a savage. A few white quilt owners stated that their quilts were made with the help of slaves on the ancestral plantation. No diaries were found among these owners to support the assertion, though it should be possible to confirm that the ancestors of the current owner did indeed own a plantation and/or slaves. Other sources record that skilled African American seamstresses were valuable and sought after in the antebellum period. Certainly some slave seamstresses would have been responsible for quilt making as well as dressmaking. We cannot dismiss the possibility that many antebellum quilts attributed to a white ancestor were in fact made in part or in whole with slave labor. This is huge. This is a very, very important thing. Important, very important fact, that we don't know when these quilts are, these fine chintz confections, right, are attributed to these women. Wow. Jonathan's in the chat. Size means it was made for the owner's house. Okay. So Casanova, hello. It's good to see you. I mean, champagne cork, mentally, psychically to you. the size of the quilt he's saying is a clue that it was made for the house, like the owner's bed in the house, or a bed in the owner's house, I should say. Yeah, Susan, it was like I was reading emotion into where that was going to go, that note pinned, and then it was like, then it took a turn, it was like made by an African woman. I thought maybe it was, this quilt was in the family of the woman, and it was like she made this, and she was under this terrible oppression, and but no, not at all. And I think, it was, in a way, it was good copy. It was a bad reading, like if I had read it ahead of time, I would have read it differently. You're my thespian. It was a bad reading. Good copy, bad reading. Anyway, that's really something. Prairie Susie's here. It's 4:30 a.m. in France. I'm glad I could join in for this one. I'm blown away by this quilt. Prairie Susie, I'm so glad you're here. And you say it's been an amazing show, and it has. They're always fun. They're always a good time, I think. Sometimes I have good shows and bad shows personally, I feel. But this show, we've read some, it's just true tonight that we've read some really incredible stories. We've learned some amazing stories, and I've learned them along with you. I've felt them along with you. And I guess there's nobody I'd rather be with, than you all to hear these kinds of things, because you appreciate them. And I guess I just love quilts because they give us the opportunity to do this kind of thing. There's an object that we can read about, if they exist, if they survive, if they're stewarded by the people who know their stories, then we can tell stories to each other and learn about them. And what else is there? What else is there? There's family and there's love, but come on, we're human beings. We need this stuff. This stuff keeps us alive, these stories and things. And I'm so grateful to you. I'm grateful to you, and I'm grateful to the quilt, as an object of people's hands and hearts. So, woo! I think that's a great place to end, and I can't wait to see you on Friday. We're going to do a Quilters newsletter Friday. It's going to be great. And I think my husky voice may have left me, so appreciate it while it's here. Hopefully my throat will feel better. Bless y'all. Stokey Wear, a museum tour each time. Stokey Wear, you've got it. That's it. You got it. It's like a museum tour each time. I like that a lot. Hey, if you haven't subscribed to the show, it would mean a ton to me if you did. Helps me be encouraged, and it helps the plane fly. Microphones, rent, it's a lot, so tier 1, 2, 3, whatever you feel like. There's perks. Go to the about page on my channel. You can read about the different subscription tiers. Yeah, giveaways, all kinds of, that's it. Thank you so much. You're the best. Read a quilt book today and tell somebody you love them. Okay, bye.